Welcome, everyone. I'm calling this meeting to order. It is 3:02 p.m. And thank you all for attending the Thursday, February 2nd, 2023 meeting of the Free City College Oversight Committee. I want to welcome Vice President Martinez, who is here and joining for the first time. We're thrilled to have you. And with that, Kia, can you please take roll call?
Thank you, Chair Mariana. I will begin with a few announcements. Due to the COVID-19 health emergency and to protect Free City College Oversight Committee members, city employees, and the public, city offices are closed. However, members and employees will be participating in the meeting remotely. This precaution is taken pursuant to the various local, state, and federal orders, declarations, and directives. Committee members and employees will attend the meeting through video conference and participate in the meeting to the same extent as if they were physically present. For all members and employees participating in the Zoom meeting, we ask that you mute yourselves when you are not speaking. This will help reduce background noise. When you would like to speak, please select raise hand and wait to be introduced. Please remember to unmute yourself before you speak. Public comment will be available for each item on this agenda. Each speaker will be allowed 2 minutes to speak. Comments or opportunities to speak during the public comment period are available via Zoom and by phone. For Zoom users, from your screen, select raise hand and wait to be introduced. For phone users who called in, press *9 to raise your hand on the phone and wait to be introduced. You will be added to the queue to speak. Please wait until it's your turn to speak. When it is time for you to speak, you will be brought into the conversation by the Zoom administrator. Please state your name, and of course, you have the right to remain anonymous if you choose. You will have the standard 2 minutes to provide your comments. For Zoom users, there will be a timer on the screen. For phone users, we will give you a prompt or a sound, and you will have 30 seconds remaining. While you are waiting, you will be able to watch and listen to the meeting. From the phone, the system will notify you when you are in line and waiting. All callers will remain on mute until their line is open. All speakers, please account for the time delays and speaking discrepancies between live coverage and streaming. Best practices are to call from a quiet location, speak clearly and slowly, and turn down any television or radio background sounds. This meeting will be recorded and posted on DCYF's website. The first item on the agenda is call to order and roll call. Members, please unmute yourselves. Chair Mariano.
Present.
Member Martinez.
Present for Alan Wong.
Member Hatfield. Member Key. Member Brandt.
Present.
Member Fate.
Present.
Member Kwok.
Present.
Member Sue. Member Wilkins.
Present.
Member Messer.
Present.
Member Brody. Member Ford. And Member Villalobos.
Present.
Chair Mariano, we do have quorum.
And
Perfect.
then Member G is present. Thank you.
There you go.
Yes, and I want to note that Maria is present. Her laptop had to restart.
Great. And it sounds like we have quorum. Thank you, DCYF. The second item is the adoption of the agenda. Thanks for putting that on the screen. If everyone could please take a minute to review.
Chair
Okay.
Mariano, I have an edit to the agenda. The City College update will include the 21-22 annual report update.
Great, thank you. Are there any committee member questions on this item? Oh, yes, Member Messer.
I'm hoping we can get an update from DCYF on the decisions we've made about reserves and where we're at and what's happened with those. Is there a place to fit that in?
I'll ask the Dr. Cooper Wilkins. Will that be a part of your update?
No, it's not.
Okay. Let's see if Member Sue is able to log on barring any audio issues. So let's put a pin in that.
Okay. Is there an obvious place that it fits so we can remember it?
Yeah, and DCYF remind me of protocol of adding to the agenda. Is it okay for us to do something like that?
Yes.
Great. Yeah, I would say let's put it if Member Sue is able to report in between City College update and annual report update. Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah. Any other members with any questions or comments? Okay, great. And are there any public comments?
No speakers in the queue.
Great. Thank you, DCYF. Is there a motion for approval of the agenda with the two mentioned amendments?
Move to approve the agenda.
Great. I think was that Member Villalobos?
Correct.
Great. And do I have a second?
I'll second.
Perfect. Was that Dr. Cooper Wilkins? I'm having trouble seeing folks. Okay,
Sorry.
great.
Yes.
No worries. Perfect. DCYF, can you please take a roll call?
We will now take a vote to approve the adoption of the agenda with the amendments. Chair Mariano,
Yes.
Member Martinez,
Yes.
Member Hatfield, Member Key, Member Brandt,
Aye.
Member Fate,
Aye.
Member Kwok,
Aye.
Member Sue, Member Wilkins,
Aye.
Member Messer,
Aye.
Member Brody, Member Ford, Member Villalobos.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Great. The next item on the agenda is item 3, general public comment. DCYF, can you see if there are any public comments?
Members of the public may address the Free City College Oversight Committee on items of interest to the public that are within the subject matter jurisdiction of the Oversight Committee. With respect to agenda items, members of the public may address the commission for up to 2 minutes at the time such item is called. Is there any public comment for items not listed on the agenda?
There are no speakers in the queue.
Seeing none, public comment is closed.
Great, thank you. The next item is item 4, the resolution to allow teleconference meetings under California Government Code Section 54953E. Under the Mayor's July 31st, 2020 order, policy bodies may meet remotely without advance approval from the Mayor or the Board of Supervisors. But beginning on October 1st, 2021, policy bodies must regularly adopt findings to continue holding remote meetings. Under normal circumstances, the Brown Act imposes special requirements for remote teleconference meetings, including requirements to provide special notice to the public and to allow members of the public to attend each teleconference location and observe each policy body member at the location calling into the meeting. AB 361 suspends those requirements if the governor has proclaimed a state of emergency, provided that the policy body makes certain findings. Specifically, to invoke AB 361's provisions, so long as the governor's emergency proclamation remains in effect, a policy body must make 2 findings at least once every 30 days. 1, it has considered or reconsidered the circumstances of the state of emergency and either 2A, the state of emergency continues to directly impact the ability of policy body members to meet safely in person, or 2B, state or local officials continue to impose or recommend measures to promote social distancing. Are there any committee member questions on this item? Yeah, Member Brandt.
Yeah, thank you. I just wasn't sure how AB 2449 comes into effect with this.
Any of the folks from DCYF know about that?
I am going to take note of that and bring it back to the committee.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for the question. We'll report back.
Yes.
Any other members with questions? Okay, great. Are there any public comments?
There are no speakers in the queue.
Seeing
Great.
none.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, there we go. Public comment is closed. Is there a motion for adoption of the resolution?
Move to
So moved.
adopt.
Oh, I think I heard Member Villalobos first and then Member Messer second.
Second.
There we go. DCYF, can you please take a roll call vote?
We will now take a vote to approve the adoption of the resolution. Chair Mariano,
Yes.
Chair, Member Martinez,
Yes.
Member Hatfield, Member Key, Member Brandt,
Yes.
Member Fate,
Sorry.
Member Kwok,
Yes.
Member Sue,
Yes.
Member Wilkins, Member Messer,
Yes.
Member
Yes.
Brody, Member Ford, Member Villalobos.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Member Brandt, were you hoping to make sure your name got in there? Go for it.
I was, but I was gonna abstain from voting because I don't feel like I have all the information I need, since I had a question, but I think maybe the person that spoke before me might have been captured as my vote. So I just wanted to be sure.
Thank you, Member Brandt.
Thank you. We'll make sure to note that. All right. The next item on the agenda is item 5, approval of the minutes from our last meeting, which was in November of 2022. If everyone could please take a minute to review. I know this was a part of our meeting packet too, so I'll see while Anthony is scrolling if any members have any questions or comments on the minutes. Member Messer. Oh, I think you're muted.
Thank you. One clarification on number 7, which I think is right where you are. Yes, right where your mouse is. The section that says awards right there. I admit that I did not go back to the report, but I wanted clarification on what we meant by awards and was wondering if that was something we could get in here, since I felt like it wasn't immediately clear to me as a reader, even though I was there. So, does that question make sense?
Yeah. Dr. Cooper Wilkins, do you know the answer to that? Let me see, let me just
So
scroll.
we are looking at the last bullet under that we can see on page 1.
7 awards for assistance for students receiving awards. Oh, I think this may be referring to the portion of the annual report that shared financial aid metrics. And so it's talking about overall financial aid awards, and there was a comparison between Free City students and non-Free City students and the types of financial awards that were made.
So that makes sense. I'm just thinking we could probably add 2 extra words and it would be clear to readers what that was. Other FAFSA awards or other financial awards, something like
Okay.
this.
Yeah, and I would have to go back to that part of the report, and I'm happy to do that and give maybe that language to make the update.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you both. Any other member questions or comments on the minutes? All right. Oh, yep, member Messer.
Sorry, just a reflection that I think here also there are in the minutes, there are a number of things that we said we would come back to or check on. And I raised that with the agenda at the beginning as well. So I'm just thinking, putting it out there that maybe it would make sense to have a continuing item on the agenda that was just like old business or checking back in or something like that, so that we had a place to ask those questions or get that feedback.
That's a great idea. I wonder if we are trying to capture that in the like future agenda items, but it might be missing the mark a little bit. So yeah, maybe if DCYF folks would be willing to think about that for next time. That's a great suggestion.
I'm sorry, Chair Mariano, can you repeat the suggestion?
Yeah, I think member Messer was saying if there's a to make sure that we have a place in the agenda for old business items. I think at the beginning she had mentioned wanting an update on the reserve and how that felt like that was something we talked about last time and it didn't get carried over to the agenda for this time. Any other member comments? Okay. And any public comment on this item?
No speakers in the queue.
Great, thank you, DCYF. And is there a motion for approval of the minutes with the amendment to that line about the awards?
I'll move to approve.
Thank you. I have a hard time seeing folks when we're sharing screens.
It was member Fight.
Member Fight, and I'm not sure who the second one was.
Member Villalobos, second.
Thank you so much. DCYF, can you please take a roll call?
We will now take a vote to approve the adoption of the minutes with the amendment. Chair Mariano,
Yes.
Chair Member Martinez,
Yes.
Member Hatfield, Member Key,
Yes.
Member Brandt,
Aye.
Member Fight,
Yes.
Member Kwok,
Yes.
Member Sue,
Yes.
Member Wilkins,
Aye.
Member Messer,
Yes.
Member Brody, Member Ford, Member Villalobos.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Item 6 on the agenda is City College update, which we will hear from Dr. Lisa Cooper Wilkins. Dr. Wilkins, I will hand it over to you.
Great, thank you, everyone. Just adjusting my view. Give me 1 second. Okay. So I'm giving the update that we typically give from the college with some data that is provided by our institutional research office. Next slide, please. And so what I'll be covering or sharing is information from our about our Free City program participants and their enrollment metrics. And as I was looking at this the last time, I'm realizing that maybe in future presentations, it may be helpful to figure out a way to do side-by-side comparisons of, say, fall of this year to fall of last year. But I will make some comments on that. Also, our financial aid office shared some award information about the types of awards students at City College has received. I will give a quick update on the status of annual reports and the strategy for those moving forward, as well as provide an update around our continued work with the RP group. And of course, entertain any questions that you all may have. Next slide, please. So this first slide is a slide that shares information about our student participation in Free City. The most recent information is at the bottom of the slide, referencing fall 2022. You all have seen the spring 2022 and the summer 2022 when the presentation was given back in September at a prior Oversight Committee meeting. And so in the fall, it's sharing the number of students who participated and received enrollment waivers. And that actually does present a slight increase from last fall, as well as a slight increase in the number of grants that were awarded. And then it just gives you the number of students who did not participate in Free City for this semester. And then that information just carries over in terms of showing you how much was expended in Free City enrollment waivers, how much was awarded in grants. It also shares how much was billed in units, and because there was slightly more participation than last fall, there was an increase in the number of billed units, as well as unfortunately, a slight increase from last fall in the number of dropped units. And then it just gives you a total student count for all of the semesters referenced. The next slide breaks down, if you'll go to the next slide, enrollment metrics report. So the numbers are actually very similar. It gives you, again, that same enrollment count in terms of enrollment waivers, grants paid, and non-Free City student participation, but this time gives you the average amount of awards per student, the average number of billed units per student. So it is an average earned units, and then the students who dropped or withdrew, as well as those who ended up not earning units at all, as well as the number of students who were considered full-time at 12 units or more by the end of the fall semester. And then if we go to the next slide, this gives an overall, so this is not just referencing Free City students, so there is not a distinction made here. I know in our annual report, there is a distinction made, but this is just an overall count from our financial aid office of the number of students who applied for financial aid out of our total enrollment count. So column C is how many applied either for financial aid or the California Community College Promise Grant, and then how many students were awarded some form of financial aid, and that could be a range of awards, whether it was Pell, Cal Grants or other types of awards. The reason that the number is so starkly different from spring 2022 to fall 2022, I'm sure that caught some people's eye, is in spring 2022, there were a number of students who received HERF awards, and those were counted as another type of financial aid award for that semester. And so those are weren't awarded in the same way in the fall, but there were more awards available in the spring. All right, and the next slide. So we are aware that the last update that you were given in the way of an annual report was actually for the 2021 academic year. So we were behind in reporting to this group. And so our strategy for getting caught up to date is that we would like to bring the 21-22 report to this committee at our next meeting, once the meeting date is determined. And then to annually provide annual reports in the fall meeting, the October-November meeting. So at this fall, we would present the 22-23 report and sort of be caught up, and then annually in the fall. So next fall would be the 2023-2024 annual report and so on. So just wanted to assure the committee that you would be receiving updated reports, and we'd get to a point where we were caught up. Part of that lag had to do with the challenges of collecting and collating data due to the pandemic and such a stark change in enrollment patterns. So the next slide. So one of the things we talked about was the opportunity after receiving the equity impact and technical reports from the RP group that shared with us both models of promising and best practices around promise programs. And there were some examples shared from across the country, as well as some recommendations about how we might think about moving forward in establishing equity goals and outcomes for our work with the Free City program. And so the proposal is that we get an opportunity to work with, I'm going to put a link in the chat, and this would be the link to the proposed facilitator for our retreats. And Dr. Al Solano, who also works with the RP group, would facilitate 2 retreats with our oversight committee, ideally either later this month in the month of March, or in the months of March and April, on working on developing equity goals and outcomes for the Free City program, and to do that in alignment with Free City's existing, City College's existing equity plan. And so if you will go to the next slide, essentially what our group would need to do, then our committee would need to do, is to identify the timeframes for those retreats, and then identify ideally and include appropriate CCSF college employees to participate. In the conversations that we've had in the last few months, many of you have suggested things around what kind of additional support or expanded support might be able to be offered to students. So I'm sure as we have these discussions about aligning this work with City College's equity plan, and in thinking about some of the promising practices that we've learned about, it would be helpful to have folks who are overseeing some of the support services at the college be a part of those discussions as plans might be made to incorporate or extend support to Free City students. And then finally, we would engage in an annual process to revisit the goals and assess the outcomes. So if needed, to make adjustments to goals and outcomes, we would be able to do that. So we would continue the work with the RP group actually over an extended period of time, not just this one time in the spring. And then I think it's time for questions.
Thank you, Dr. Cooper Wilkins.
Thank you.
Any questions or comments from members? Member Brandt.
Thank you. I was just going to ask if there's opportunities for student involvement in meeting as a part of the RP group. I noticed that it said employees, but I was just wondering if there's opportunities for student representatives as well.
Absolutely. So in addition to the representation from the Oversight Committee group, absolutely. And the other, I think, piece of this would include some of the, trying to think, there was a recommendation also about doing some focus groups and some other ways to get direct student feedback as well. So multiple ways to get student feedback. So absolutely.
Great. Member Villalobos.
Thank you, Dr. Cooper Wilkins. My question went back to I believe it was the financial aid metric. When students receive that extra PERF award, did that, the recipients of that award, did it affect their financial aid package?
I don't believe that it affected the financial aid package, but it was counted as an award, which is why that number is so starkly different than the one for fall. Because I noticed it right away in column D. So it didn't count, say as against a student as in, oh, you received this and now something else gets taken away kind of thing. So.
Okay, thank you.
So the head count is in column B, and then the award count is in column B. Head count for a total number of students for the term is in column B, and then number of awards in column D. So they may not be unduplicated, I guess would be the question.
Member Messer.
Yeah, this is a really interesting slide, and that seeing that huge number may in fact speak to levels of need that go beyond our basic financial aid package. So there's sort of an interesting question that gets raised there in terms of unmet need and other ways to support students, and that falls right into some of the things this committee has been trying to find more ways to address. So there may be some, I don't know if it can be teased apart at all, but there may be some real information in there overall that helps us think about serving students and their overall needs in order to really do their best at City College.
Thank you. I just wanted to add, I'm really excited for our upcoming work, hopefully to develop the equity goals. I think that will really help us center our work and ground us. And so I'm looking forward to that. And I hope that we're able to find a time to do that works for everybody soon. Just wanted to add that piece. Yeah, Member Messer.
Just to add to, I think what Member Malinali said in terms of concerns about being sure students are there is really important. And we actually have more student representation on this committee than in many other committees at the college in general, which is wonderful. But we do have an underrepresentation, I would say, of classified staff and faculty. So I would hope that we would pull in more than just a single faculty member, more than a single classified staff member to be part of this committee, and would like to be part of making sure that that happens as well for these retreats, which I'm excited to see happen.
Any other member comments?
I think I was on the last slide, but just wanted to make sure.
Oh,
Yeah,
did I jump in before you were done?
Yes, you may.
Oh, no. Okay. But I hope I didn't cut you off with.
Oh, gosh, no.
Okay.
No,
Okay.
not at all.
Okay. If there's no other member comments, is there any public comment?
There are no speakers in the queue.
Great. Thank you. And so I think now is when maybe I can pass it to Member Sue and hear an update on the reserve.
Thank you, Chair. In terms of the reserve, the controller has not given us a new number because they actually don't true up the numbers on like every month or so. They only do it, I think, on an annual basis, if I'm correct, or at a minimum a biannual basis. So at this time, the reserve has not changed. It is still at $6.8 million. And as we all know that there is, we are slowly inching up towards that cap, which is that 50% of annual allocation, meaning our annual allocation right now is around $16 million. So 50% of that is $8 million. I do know that I have some of our fiscal team on this call. So if I misspoke or said, if there's anything else I need to add, please let me know. Jump on in.
Thank you. Member Messer.
Thanks for that. Yeah. So, I mean, the part of that question that you may have guessed that I'm hoping to hear about, right? We worked to make a pretty excited, I saw in the minutes, I loved the enthusiastically and unanimously made a decision about that. And I know that it went to DCYF to go to the budget office and to the mayor's office and to get that moving. So I'm asking for an assessment of where we are in that process. And yeah. And if we have any clear indication, at least, of where we are in that process.
Yeah.
Oh.
No, go for it. I was going to say, I think the chair has more information about this.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, I can jump in here. And I can share that Dr. Cooper Wilkins and I have been doing some work behind the scenes to make sure that we have all the information that we need in transmitting that recommendation to the mayor. So making sure that we know exactly how many students it would affect, the years that this is spanning between, the average amount that students have in their accounts, the amount that triggers a hold for students, just making sure that we're really solid on that information to be able to move forward with next steps. So thank you to Dr. Cooper Wilkins for providing that to us. I know it was a lot of details. And so now that we have all the information and the strong recommendation, this will now be considered as a part of the mayor's budget for this upcoming year, which the mayor's budget office is working hard to put together in time for the next fiscal year to begin. And so this recommendation has been received and will be considered as a part of that process. That's an update from our end. And Member Villalobos.
Yes, well, thank you for those efforts. They're very much needed, especially when this new semester started. It's a missed opportunity to get students back into enrollment, and we do work with students that are not able to enroll because of their outstanding fines. And so thank you for the efforts behind the scenes. And we feel that it's time sensitive as well.
Absolutely, and I hear you with the miss for this semester, and and it's our priority to see if we can make this happen for our next opportunity for the next semester. So thank you for that feedback. Member Brandt.
Yeah, I wanted to see something similar actually, and just say, I know that there's a process in place and things take time, but the need is definitely now for the students. And so I don't know what the timeline will look like in the end, but I guess I just become concerned, as it was mentioned, that we're inching closer and closer to that $8 million, and really wanting to be able to utilize those funds in a way that will benefit students and be equitable.
Thank you. Any other member questions or comments? Okay, great. And thank you, Member Messer, for making sure that we added that to the agenda today. Are there any public comments on this item?
There are no speakers in the queue.
Great. So we will move on to our next item, the future agenda items. Future agenda items, a couple that we wanted to include are discussing return to in-person meetings, and also establishing an oversight committee calendar. So just to jump in with a little bit about that, Member Brandt, I'm not as familiar with the state laws that I think is what you were referring to, but as we all know, the governor's state of emergency is coming to a close. And so I know that we're working to figure out what that'll look like for these meetings. And so we'll make sure that that makes it onto the next agenda for this body. And DCYF will be coordinating a time for our next meeting. So if everybody could keep an eye out for those coordination emails. I don't know. Oh yeah, Member Brandt.
Sorry, I didn't mean to raise my hand so early if you weren't finished speaking.
Oh no, go for it.
Okay, I was just gonna say, I think in terms of future agenda items, one of the things that I had previously requested in our last meeting is potentially exploring an appeals process for students who find themselves needing to drop a class after the really stringent or tight deadlines that we have. You know, I think I mentioned last time, life happens. And I think one of the most equitable things we can do is try to figure out prevention, not just treatment in situations. So I just wanted to bring that back again.
Thank you. And I can also say too that Member Messer's request from earlier to add a follow-up section or something. We'll tweak it to make sure the language is there, but we'll make sure that makes it onto a future agenda too.
Chair Mariano, I just would like to share that the next Free City College audit will begin soon.
Thank you. Dr. Cooper-Wilkins.
One of the things that had come up during the annual, oops, sorry, I'm trying to lower my hand. I'm gonna keep hitting the button. That came up was information about the number of, Free City participants versus non-Free City participants that, are San Francisco some of whom are San Francisco residents. So the idea about how we might potentially have a marketing campaign for the Free City program to sort of re-engage our local community around the availability of the program is something I would want to see as a future item.
Thank you. Any other future agenda items from members? Oh no, I saw you on mute. Go for it.
I try not to talk so much in these meetings. I really do. One of the things that we had talked about, Member Fight had brought the information about dual enrollment, and I noticed as we look through the agenda, there were some questions there that I had raised so we could understand better how we were, expanding that. I know, Dr. Cooper-Wilkins, there was a question there that you said you'd come back to. That was part of what triggered me to say, we need like a follow-up conversation
We do.
area. in the agenda.
And what I would love to do is invite my colleague, Vice Chancellor for Academic Affairs, Jesse Lee, to a future meeting, because I think there's a lot of nuances about how Academic Affairs works to set the number of unit thresholds for the program and how faculty are identified that would be better explained by him than me trying to translate a message. So I will be happy to extend an invitation if that becomes an agenda item for the next meeting.
Great. So I think with that, let's see if there is any public comment.
There are no speakers in the queue.
All right. Well, thank you all. Our final item is adjournment. So can it please be noted for the record that this meeting is adjourned at 3:48 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Nice to meet you.